Welcome, everyone. I wanted to thank you for being here. I also wanted to send a special thanks and welcome to Major General Hall. Thank you, sir, for being here. I appreciate your support. I'm Scott Smith. I'm going to be your host for the next 45 minutes or so. I'm the co-founder of ATS. I have a background in psychology and social work and have brought the first VR lab to the state of Texas, and been very passionate about developing innovative technology to enhance human performance. We're very excited. We've been working very diligently over the last 9 months to build our platform and to build MCI, and we're going to be bringing you what we call Hero. It's a platform that will house a diverse set of virtual reality trainings across disciplines, and I'm glad you can join us to get a sneak peek of that. And you're also going to get to see our first VR training that will be hosted on the platform called Mass Casualty Incident Training, and it'll be released this month. So just a little bit of logistics. As we move through the webinar, we'll be talking to the panel. There'll be some polls that come up. Please respond to those. We wanted to get some information about who you are and where you're from and what your training needs are. We also have the chat function, which most of y'all are familiar with, but I'll be requesting that y'all input some information into that when we get to those sections of the webinar. All right, so we are going to get started. What we're going to do is we're going to talk to the members of our panel. I'm going to introduce you to them. Then we're going to discuss and showcase kind of our training and our platform. And then towards the end, we'll have the drawing for the Oculus. And then followed by a brief Q&A discussion, which I hope you stick around for. We'll be recording the webinar. And so if for any reason you have any technical difficulties or you're multitasking like some of y'all I've seen, we'll be able to send you all that video so that you could get back to it and look at it. And you can feel free to contact us if you have any questions. All right, so let's get started. I'd like to introduce the three people on the panel who have been instrumental in helping us bring MCI training to the Hero platform. First, we have Scott Macleod. He is our CEO of ATS. And then we have Commander Keith Noble from the City of Austin EMS. And then we have Dr. Gil Salazar from UT Southwestern Emergency Management Center. They've been very significant parts in developing this training. And what we want to do moving forward, guys, is just y'all start with giving us a brief introduction of who y'all are. And we can start with Scott and then move to Commander Noble and then to Dr. Salazar.
Hey, thanks, Scott. Everybody, welcome. Thanks for being on. General Hall, thanks so much for your time. Our representatives from FEMA and our other agencies, thank you guys for taking the time. Scott Macleod just transitioned from a 31-year military career, background in operations, commanded an infantry battalion, a maneuver brigade, and spent my final few years as the FEMA Region 6 Homeland Response Force Commander and former Director of Operations for the state of Texas. So when I first met Scott and our other founders, what really attracted me to ATS was understanding that had I had this technology available as a commander in the Army, it would have transformed the way I approach training. Just real quick, the bottom line was, as we all know, that when you're trying to train medium to large groups of people, even small groups, it's hard to certify results. And it's hard to overcome the financial, time, and personnel constraints that often are associated with large training events. So I saw the platform technology's capability to do that and realized that this was going to transform DoD as well as fire, EMS, and other agencies who care about training. And that's what attracted me to the company.
Commander Noble.
Can you hear me okay, Scott?
Yep.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Commander Noble. I am a commander with Austin Travis County EMS. I have been with the city of Austin for 15 years in January. And I've been with EMS and a paramedic for almost 20 years now. My educational background is I have a master's degree in emergency management. I also have another master's degree in public administration. I've been doing emergency management and kind of mass casualty education and research for approximately 10 years now. I've responded to just about every disaster in Central Texas in some way, and I'd say 90% of the disasters in the state of Texas. I'm on multiple state deployment teams. I've deployed to many disasters in the state of Texas. I've been working with Scott and the group here for a number of years. We started with our AMBUS training here in Austin, and it's kind of morphed into a couple other things. I'd also agree with Scott is one of the reasons that we are doing this is to get better results for these type of training events. I'm happy to be part of this group.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Gil Salazar. I'm an emergency medicine physician and associate professor of emergency medicine at UT Southwestern Medical Center, where it's my 11th year to be one of the faculty members. I am dually board certified in emergency medicine and emergency medical services. My passion for EMS started back around Hurricane Katrina. And since then, it's been quite the love affair with disaster medicine operations, fire service. And my career has recently morphed into having quite a bit of interest in education for modern learners, as well as a passion for innovative learning platforms. And through some of those funny twists and turns in life, I was approached by ATS about collaborating, and I couldn't say no. It's been an absolute pleasure working with the team and feeling like you're part of something remarkable, something big, something transformative. And I wouldn't be here if I didn't believe in what we're doing. So thanks for being here.
Thanks, Gil. Appreciate it. Kind of what Commander Noble said, kind of how all this got started, kind of like, well, how did we get here? The city of Austin approached me as a professor at the university and needed some training developed. And Commander Noble talked about the AMBUS. The AMBUS is a large kind of 18-wheeler multi-patient vehicle bus that's sent to large scale events. And part of the problem with training on that thing is that you can't get everybody to where one is located. And we believe in the moment that, you know, creating an augmented or virtual reality training simulation would be a viable option. So let's try it. We witnessed and observed a lot of training. And one of the things that we did understand is that it was very costly to train first responders and to get people to these live events. And that it was oftentimes not really clear how people did when they went through those trainings. And so we went and we built an AR training and the VR training, and we went through a simulation, a live kind of testing event, and kind of compared AR, VR, and traditional training together. We had 50 cadets that went through it. We randomly assigned them and selected them. And we didn't prescribe to the cadets like what or how much time they needed to spend in these spaces. Because we really wanted to understand, one, does it work? And two, do really people want to do this? Do they care about it? Is it exciting to them? And what we found at the end of this was that the AR and VR groups outperformed the traditional groups significantly. They had 45% more memory recall than the traditional group, and they were about 29 to 30% faster. What we also found out, and Commander Noble, I'll ask you about this in a few seconds, is that the cadets were really excited about it. I think on average in a week's time, they were spending about 20 times in the environment. So that showed us that not only did the VR simulation and training work, people were excited about it. People were attracted to it. Noble, Commander Noble, when we tested that with y'all, what were kind of the impressions of the trainees and the cadets? What did they think?
I think that the cadets were very excited about this training. They were sitting in their normal training is sitting in a classroom for 6 weeks during the academy with their normal PowerPoints and their normal lectures. And this was something fairly new and fairly exciting, to the point where the group that did the traditional training was really kind of jealous of the other groups that got to do the AR and the VR training. And I heard a lot about that from the traditional group, that they were not able to participate until the end with the other training.
Yeah, I remember one person spent 30 times in the week. I was wondering what they did elsewhere.
Yeah. and I heard almost from all the cadets in some way or fashion that this was the best training and the best way of doing this that they've ever done. And so I heard that comment over and over again in multiple different ways.
I just saw a great question that someone asked, how do we test their knowledge? What we did is we built the AR and VR environment to mimic exactly what the ambulance was and where things were in the ambulance bus. And we had a knowledge test of where is the gauze, where are the syringes, where is the fire extinguisher, where are these certain items on the bus? And that's how we evaluated their performance, how long it took them on that task, how many errors they made when doing that. And so that's how we were able to gain and understand some of the impact of that training. Thanks, Commander Noble. I appreciate that.
And just to say one more thing, we tested them on the real bus in the end. They trained in virtual space, but then we actually tested them on the real bus.
So that we wanted to make sure it transferred into a real life context. So one of the things throughout this process that we've been really diligent about, I mean, I'm a social scientist, I'm a researcher, I value metrics and outcomes. And it was really important for me to understand the training, traditional training in general. It was, I wanted to know what could we do better for first responders and how could we do that? And we found overwhelmingly that a platform and metrics and understanding how I perform in these spaces is really, really key to learning. It's really difficult to transform or to change or to evolve when you don't have any data behind doing that. And one of the things that we needed to start out with first was building the platform. And so we wanted to create a centralized location and doing and conducting the trainings and being able to manage that. And one of the things I wanted to ask Scott Macleod is, if you had that platform, now that you know what we're trying to do with the platform, Scott, what would the impact have on training itself? And what impact would VR training have in general?
Well, it's so funny because when I first found out about ATS, I went to the website, I saw a picture of the M-Bus, and I told my friend who referred you guys to me, I said, I'm not interested. It looks like a medical training company. I don't have any background in it. It was when I first met with y'all and began to understand that it wasn't just the AR VR training, it was the platform technology that's really the true differentiator. The ability to utilize telepresence, gamification, to have deep analytics, that's the game changer. As a large organizational leader, I was trying to train thousands going to combat in Iraq or other places. And, when you're training folks, you've got across large organizations, you could have hundreds of individual tasks, you have leader tasks, you have collective tasks. So the ability to basically use this platform technology to achieve a higher training effect in less time, with less money, with fewer resources is unbelievable. Not only does it save resources, but I realized it would allow me as a commander to focus my limited training time on those most critical of tasks. And so, today we're talking about MCI, but that would simply be one training of one day, what we hope to be thousands of trainings that exist. But it's the platform technology that organizational leaders can grab a hold of and basically save a ton of time and money, but at the same time, motivate their personnel to train and know for certain that they were mission ready, that they were certified. Quite frankly, we just need to admit this. Even in the military, most of our training events were what we call familiarization training events. Certification is costly and it's expensive in time and money. Most of the time, we might be able to run a soldier through one or two iterations of a training event. We never really knew whether they were certified. To certify somebody, you got to get out a checklist, a stopwatch. You have to really establish rigid conditions. And the Army and most organizations just don't do it. And so it leaves leaders wondering how trained their personnel really are. So when you're using this technology, there's no more doubt. And I'll close with this. Sophisticated organizations are capable of tailoring their training to the individual needs of each operator. You know, not every guy and gal needs to go through the same training 5 times. But if you don't have an assessment tool, then you end up having to do one size fits all, which is incredibly wasteful and demotivating to the personnel. So by bringing this technology to bear, we can really give each individual operator exactly what they need. We can prevent their time from being wasted, and we can leave them motivated and ready to go on to the next task.
Thanks, Scott. I appreciate that. Grayson, let's give them a look at the first version of the platform and just kind of how everything's structured.
Sure. Let me share my screen. And Scott, we've got a couple of good questions in the chat as well, if you want to take a look at those as well. So let's talk about our platform. So the ATS Hero system is made up of 2 parts. The first part is a web portal where trainers can log in. They can see all the trainings that their organization has signed up for. They're able to create or add new trainees by inviting them via email and see who's active on the system. They're able to create individual teams and sort those trainees into teams. So you can have an AMBUS team, you can have an MCI team, the Swiftwater Rescue team. However you want to break up your team members, you can break them up into those groups. And team members can be on multiple teams at the same time. But the other part of the system is the Oculus goggles, which I'm going to show you here in a little bit. That's where they actually train. And after they get trained, their performance comes into the ATS Hero system here. And you're able to see by training. So if there was a MCI training or a mass casualty or a hazmat training or something like that, you would be able to see who on your teams overall are the best, who are the worst, who needs more work, and compare those to the average errors and time on task. You can see how many times your trainees are training and for how long, and even down to what days they prefer training. They can see, you can see also which specific errors they're having, which specific time, how long it's taken them to do each task. So that way you can say, you know, maybe people need more help with training on, let's say, yellow victims or green victims or some other task. And you can also see who has not completed their training, and you can send them an email. So it's a really great way of being able to see how your team is performing as a whole. You also can take a look at, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Grayson. I was going to join in and kind of add to what John was asking in the chat about how do we assess trainees. We go beyond just observational training. Through VR, we have the ability to use biometrics, and we'll talk about advanced analytics here in a little bit, and eye tracking and stress indicators and cognitive load to really be able to identify people's optimal performance and where they're struggling in certain conditions. And so I guess in terms of identifying who's ready and who's not, if you begin, one of the interesting things that I've learned is not all training throughout the country is standardized, and not everybody does it the same for various reasons, which makes kind of certification a little bit more difficult. And so one of the things that we'll be able to do once you have thousands and thousands of people running through this is better understand how people perform and what certification could look like and should look like. Sorry, Grayson, go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, no worries. One more thing, you can also download a report as well and print it out if you need to, or email it to one of your colleagues or something along those lines. You can also see individual people in each team. So we can take a look at George here. And you can see how George stacks up with the best person. In this case, George is the best person and stacks up against the average. And you can see their learning curve as well. We found that the more times with the AMBUS, we found that the more times the person used it, the better they got at it, the higher the score, the lower the score, I'm sorry, they got. So you can see kind of a visual representation of how they're learning as well. Now, if the trainee themselves also has a portal themselves, so the trainers kind of create the teams and add new trainees. But if you are just a trainee, you can also log into the system and you're able to see the trainings that you have access to, watch a video on them to see if it's something that you need to do. And then also see your individual performance on that individual training. So you can see how you stack up to your other teammates and some of the other people on the system. Again, being able to see the learning curve, task errors, and time on task. So you know, as a trainee, what areas that you need to work on as well. And we'll talk about the headset in just a few minutes.
Thanks, Grayson. So one of the things I wanted to ask Commander Noble and Dr. Salazar is if you had, how would a platform like this help you? And what would be the benefits of it? And are there any benefits of it? And what do you see as the future of this type of technology? Commander Noble, go ahead.
So the platform, it really gives you a good snapshot of where you are as a department or a system on training. So it allows me, if I'm the administrator or the supervisor for it, to get an overall picture of where the training is for whatever the scenario is that we're training for. It also lets the individual trainees know where they stand amongst their peers during this training. So when we tested this with the AMBUS with the cadets, it almost became a competition of who could do better. It not almost, you know, it did become a competition between them on who was doing better in what categories and things like that. And you would hear them talk about that. And it was kind of a motivating factor of, hey, I want to train a little bit longer or a little bit better or a little bit more to, you know, be the highest person in the class. And we heard a lot of that.
Don't put a leaderboard in front of first responders, right?
Yes.
Go ahead, Dr. Salazar. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think one of the most impressive aspects of this platform is that it's pretty meticulously developed. You know, for folks like me who rely on meticulous preparation, and not just clinically, but operationally, you know, putting this level of thought into a platform is absolutely impressive. Second, it's absolutely customizable to what you want it to do. Let the platform perform for you. That's what it's for. And so when I'm going to look at metrics, when I want to look at the things that are important to me, I can let the platform know what's important to me, and the platform will do that. So I think that ATS has done a phenomenal job of allowing the end users to become immersed, not just in the virtual environment, but within the platform itself. And as a result, you got a phenomenal product in front of you.
One more thing I'd like to add, Scott, is normal public safety training. It's like pass fail. You do a task, you get tested on something, it's pass fail. Maybe if you're in school, you get a letter grade or some kind of grade. But with this, you can really track how that person is doing and what they really need to improve on, down to a lot of different matrices.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we haven't really fully comprehended yet is being able to access this training while being deployed, right? Like I'm about to go into an event, let me begin training and refamiliarizing myself. Because there's this concept called skill degradation, meaning that if you aren't doing these things consistently over time, you begin to become dull in your ability to respond in those spaces. So that
was one of the factors for the AMBUS training was, you know, we would train people on the AMBUS, and it would be 2 or 3 years before they went out into a big event with it. And then they're right in the middle of a hurricane, and we wanted to be able to give this training basically anywhere, anytime, whether it be at home or at the station or on the road down to the coast for the hurricane.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think there's so many different use cases for this. So after kind of our process was, all right, we need to build a platform. We built the platform, and they were like, okay, what do we need to put on this platform? What is a high return training that we could create that a lot of people would use? And we spent time kind of interviewing and polling people and asking them, And what everybody said was mass casualty triage. And I'm guessing and I'm betting the unfortunate reality is that that was happening a lot while we were asking those questions. And this is part of our norm and our reality now, that we have to train for these things and be prepared for them. And so we wanted to create something that not just EMTs would be able to use, but police, fire, anybody else would be able to access and utilize and understand. And so we began to build the MCI training. Commander Noble, will you and Dr. Salazar give us some ideas about what traditional MCI training looks like? And what are some problems that you have with that current training methodology?
So our typical kind of MCI training, it takes a lot of different resources and people. And say you have, can you hear me, Scott?
Yeah, you're there, buddy.
Okay. So our typical training would involve, let's just say it's a 30-person MCI. We'd have to get either 30 live people, or we'd have to get 30 dummies or mannequins to do that training. We also need a support staff for that training. So you need some proctors, you need some note takers, you need someone to run the training. And then you have, in our organization, about 550 employees that we would need to run through that training. So that's 550 people times probably 2 hours of overtime, times all the other staff that you have to do it. And that's a lot of money, and that's a lot of resources to go towards something that needs to be done. With the VR and the AR technology, you can do it at a fraction of the cost, and you can, the bigger benefit, at least in my mind, is you can do it multiple times and anywhere, and you can change the scenarios around. So that's probably the biggest reason I really like this technology.
One of the questions, Commander, I have that we watched, right? How did you introduce stress?
So
with
traditional kind of scenario stuff, we play music, or we bang drums, or we give kind of misdirection to the cadets or the trainees. With the VR stuff, you can introduce stress a lot of different better ways, I think.
Thank you, Keith. Dr. Salazar, how do you normally train for it now?
You know, let me preface my answer by telling you I don't think that brick and mortar MCI training is really ever going to go away in terms of moulages that we do and dressing people up. The problem that I see with modern learners is the motivation to do some pre-lesson learning. So a lot of my students, the majority of them, come in cold, apprehensive, without a really solid background on what they're about to do, making the time with us, which is very difficult to prepare and to plan, making it less fruitful than we would like. So enter a training like this. I foresee this type of technology being used not just as to train somebody, but what a wonderful way to get somebody prepared for an actual training event that is live. And the second thing that we're lacking in current training is, our moulages really validated tools in training. Now with real-time metrics, with the group level metrics that ATS is providing, well, that is the backbone of validating a training tool. And so you can have a very technologically advanced, very well-planned event, but it means absolutely nothing if it has not been validated as a training tool. So now you have something that is concise, something that is organized, something that can really prepare the students for a real life lesson, and it is a validated training tool. You got a winner in your hands.
I think that's one of the interesting things that we haven't really fully understood, but I think is one of the benefits of what we're doing, Gil, is that with the VR stuff prior to these live events, we now know what people are struggling with. We now know where their errors are, what they're focusing on, what's causing them stress. And now you can kind of hone those live trainings to those areas to improve that functioning, as opposed to this large event that you're hoping just encompasses and addresses all things. So I think that's a great point. Perfect. Thank you, buddy. Grayson, let's start to show everybody the new MCI training that we've developed.
Yeah, let's do it. Let me turn my video on. All right. So just to kind of give you a little bit of background. So we design all of our trainings to work off of the Oculus Quest headset. What's great about this headset is that it's completely self-contained. You don't have to have an IT department to support this. If you can download apps on a smartphone, you can do basically that with this headset. The only reason why I've got a cable today is because I need to show you, the audience, what I'm seeing and hearing, but normally you wouldn't have any cable. The battery lasts for a couple of hours. And really all you need is a Wi-Fi hotspot or Wi-Fi wherever the trainee is. So you could buy a couple of these. They're about $300. You can buy these anywhere, Best Buy, Walmart. Buy a couple of them, have them as a stable, and then you can check them out to your trainees. They can take them home, train for a few days, bring them back, that sort of thing. So they're a really great unit. So let's do a little bit of a demo here, what we got going on. So I'm going to share my screen.
Just don't try to buy them right in the middle of a pandemic.
That is true. Yes, that is definitely true.
At the start of
All right. So here I am in the garage scene. All of our trainings end up here, and you have access to them by logging in using your same username and password that you did with the ATS Hero website. So I'm going to log in. And I've got all the trainings that I have access to that I've been assigned, in this case, mass casualty training. So I'll take a look at that. I can have a read of what the training is, so I can see what I'm going to expect. I can see how much motion is required and how much violence is in this particular training. So I'm going to hit go. I'm just going to reset my thing here. All right, so every one of our trainings has a beginner, intermediate, and advanced mode. In the beginner mode, we're gonna walk the user through the start triage process in this case, with dialog boxes and extra information that they need to know in order to train them how to use the system and train on the start system. In the advanced and intermediate mode, you get harder avatars, more injured avatars, as well as more distractions in the form of audio and visual distractions and things like that. So let's start off with the beginner. So I'll take a look at the beginner, and you're going to get a briefing in the driving in the ambulance to the way to the scene. So we'll take a look at that. We also have two modes in this one. We have a comfort mode and a more realistic mode. More comfort means you kind of transport yourself or transport yourself to the different parts of the area as opposed to like walking around. We find that some people who have motion sickness, that's a little bit more comfortable for them. I'm going to go ahead and do the more realistic, which is walking around.
Central Medic 6. Motor vehicle accident involving bus rollover, 4000 block, Highway 183 North. Unknown number of injured. Multiple agencies responding, multiple lanes blocked. Scene is secure. Check in with scene commander on arrival. Engine 3 on scene, sir.
So I'm here in my scene. I'm waiting for all of my injured folks to load. And as we're waiting for this, we're going to see about 30 avatars being loaded with different injury types, different personality types, all based off of Commander Noble and Dr. Salazar's notes, field notes on injury types. So in the ambulance ride, I heard that I needed to go talk to the scene commander. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk to our scene commander here.
You've been assigned to triage. 30 victims need your help. Look down towards your waist. Your triage kit is equipped with everything you need: oral and nasal airways, chest seal, tourniquets, triage tags, and a start triage cheat sheet. To access an item, grip it using your index and middle triggers on the joystick. On-screen instructions will provide hints on what to do and where to go next. Your goal is to administer start triage and correctly tag all 30 victims. Don't forget, you only have 60 seconds per victim. The time indicator will tell you how much time you have left. Report back to me when you're done. The green areas to your right marked with the tarp. The scene is safe. No fire and no smoke present. Now get to work.
All right, so I've gotten a full briefing from her.
Tell everybody who can walk to come over to the green area. Just gets them out of your way so you can work with other victims.
So these dialogues, the text and the audio, kind of walk me through how to do the start triage process. So my first step is to go over here and talk to everybody and tell them to come over to the green area.
If you can hear the sound of my voice, walk towards me and go to the green area
Now
to
tell
my
the green
right.
victims to stay here. You don't want them wandering around while you're trying to work.
All right, I'm going to tell everybody to stay here.
I need everyone to stay here and stay calm. I will be back to get you shortly.
Now, since these victims aren't in immediate danger, you can go work on the other victims first, then come back to these at the end and tag them green. Start with the victim nearest to you.
And here's where we start the loop of treating the different victims. So I'm going to go over here to the nearest victim. She's going to have to walk around him a little bit. And as I get closer to a victim, I can see that they light up and then they get a little bit
Kneel down or get closer to start the triage process. First thing is to check for signs of breathing. If you're not seeing their chest rise, then apply oral or nasal airway and adjust their neck.
All right. So I'm going to check for signs of breathing.
Now check
And
for
it
signs
looks
of
like he's
breathing.
breathing.
If you can see their chest rise, count how many breaths per minute. If it's under 30, they get tagged as a red. If it's over 30, that means they're doing okay, and you move on to the next step.
So I can kind of count their breaths. It looks like he's breathing pretty normally here, so I'm going to go on further. Okay, well, I was wrong. Again, I'm a designer, not a medic. So in this case, he wasn't breathing in a good range. So I've got my bag here, so I need to tag him with a red. So I'm going to grab my red out of my bag and tag him.
Start with the victim nearest to you.
All right, so I'm going to start with this guy. He's looking pretty bad.
Okay.
Now kneel down or get closer to start the triage process.
I think I broke something. It hurts really bad.
All right, so I'm going to hit OK.
First thing is to check for signs of
Signs of
breathing.
breathing. So it looks
If
like
you're not
he's
seeing
kind
their
of
chest rise,
breathing, but he's
then
kind of
apply
liquid.
oral or nasal airway and adjust their neck.
All right.
Now check for signs of breathing. If you can see their chest rise, count how many breaths per minute. If it's under 30, they get tagged as a red. If it's over 30, that means they're doing okay, and you move on to the next step.
And I can use the timer in the corner to count how many breaths they're doing.
Now check
It
their
looks like
radial
he's doing
pulse.
all right. So I'm going to check
If they
his
don't
radial
have
pulse.
one or it's very low, then tag them as a red. If they have a good pulse, move on to the next step.
All right. So I'm going to check their pulse.
Now the last step is to check their mental status. If they can
All right, so
raise their
check his
arm
pulse,
or
is that
answer
right?
your questions, then they get tagged as a yellow. Otherwise, they get tagged as a red.
All right, okay. And then I'm going to go over here. I'm going to check. See if they
Can you raise
up.
your arm for me?
So he didn't raise his arm. So that means he gets tagged as a red. All right. So grab the bag. I grab my red and tag him here. And I
Start
got
with the
this one
victim nearest to
correctly.
you.
So I'm going to go to the next person. And tag this person over here.
My arm hurts.
Now kneel
But I
down
think
or
I'm
get
okay.
closer to start the triage process. First thing is to check for signs of breathing.
So I'll
If
just
you're
kind
not
of
seeing
go
their
through
chest
these a little
rise,
bit quicker.
Now check
All
for
right,
signs
looks
of
like he's
breathing.
breathing.
If you can see their chest
I
rise,
can
count how many breaths
he's
per
got.
minute. Now check
Checking
their
for
radial
his
pulse.
pulse.
Now the last step is to
All
check
right,
their mental
and
status.
I'm going to check his mental status.
Can you raise your
All
arm?
right, he raised his arm, so that means he's a yellow. And
Start
I've
with the
got the
victim
green.
nearest
So
to
I
you.
continue to go through that process until I've tagged everybody and go back to the green area and then tag them as well. So let's take a look. I'm going to quit out real quick. I'm going to quit out and I'm going to go and log in again. And we're going to do the more advanced mode now, just to kind of show you the difference. You're going to get a lot less, the user is going to get a lot less feedback. They're gonna have to basically go through the process pretty much on their own. So I'm going to log in real quick. So if you just give me a second. And this time I'm going to go ahead and do the advanced mode. It's got a lot more stuff going on in it. The the victims are a lot more injured. There's a lot more reds and yellows in the crowd, and you get a lot less of a briefing on the way there. In fact, you don't get any briefing on the way there, and you get a lot less of a briefing from your scene commander. So again, I'm waiting for everybody to load in, so I've got everybody loading in. Talk to the scene commander to start it off.
You've been assigned to triage the victims on scene. Report back to me when you're done. Green areas to your right and look at the chart.
Hey, I think that guy needs help over there.
Get to work.
Now, all she basically told me was, seem safe, no fire, no smoke, now get to work, basically. So that's good. So I've got to remember.
Hey, I think that guy needs help over there.
So I'm getting people yelling at me. I'm getting sirens, lights.
If you can hear the sound of my voice,
flashes, all
walk
that
towards
stuff.
me and go to the green area to my right.
So I'm feeling a little bit more stressed, just because everything's kind of going on. So I'm gonna go talk to this person here. Sorry. She's
What
looking
is
pretty
that?
injured.
It hurts. Put it back in.
Okay, so I'm gonna look back to my cheat sheet just in case I forget. So I've got to check her breathing. She's not breathing at a position or airway, and I got to check her respiration rate. So I think she is breathing. So she looks like she's doing okay from a breathing standpoint. So then I'm gonna check her radial pulse. Pulse is looking pretty good. So far I think I need to go check her. So she raised her arm. She raised her arm, so I think that's a yellow now. So as I remember from my training. All right, I got her right. I guess I got lucky because I'm a designer, not a medic. So I'll probably get a lot of these wrong.
I can't see it. Lights won't work. I can't get
So
up.
I have accidentally already touched him to get his pulse. I'm looking at his breathing. I think he's doing all right. I'm going to ask him about his
Can you raise your arm?
Okay, I think he's a yellow again. So I'm going to grab my test. All right, I was right on him. So let's go here and do one more, and then we'll kind of let you go.
I can't see it.
Yeah.
Lights won't work. I can't get up.
Okay. All right. Looks like he's breathing. I can count his breaths and seconds there. I think he's doing all right. I'm going to ask if he can raise your arm. If he can do it also. So I think he's yellow again. All right. Excellent. So I got lucky and got all yellows. So I'm just going to get out and y'all can go on from here. Take it away, Scott.
Thanks.
Thanks, Grayson. Appreciate it.
Mhm.
So that was kind of our thought process. Let's build the MCI training, and we'll get your opinions on that moving forward. But one of the things, now that I have you here, if y'all could go down into that chat box and give me your thought process of what trainings in your field do you think are too difficult, expensive, or dangerous to train for? Or what trainings would be great in VR? And kind of give us an idea of what your thoughts are there. I appreciate that. Hey, Gil and Commander Noble, this VR training, what does it give you that normal training doesn't give you? Like, what are you able to do here that you wouldn't be able to do traditionally?
But I think first of all, it gives us the safety of the VR. A lot of the training that we have to do is sometimes it's just dangerous and unrealistic. I think the VR is even more realistic than doing it in person sometimes, depending on what the scenario is. It also gives you immediate feedback in how your trainees are doing.
Yeah, and with COVID, training altogether is going to be a little bit difficult.
So that's true. It's hard to get together right now. We're still not in-person training. We're still doing everything virtually. And to have this there would be great.
And to that end, one of the things that this particular product provides is modern learners really demand a lot of flexibility in how to intake and digest information given to them. So now we have a very, very good tool that can be launched asynchronously, allowing the student to integrate that learning on their own terms, on their own time, on their bed or their flip-flops if they want. So we're able to leverage that flexibility in delivery. And that's something that we didn't have before. We relied on people's goodwill and hoping they would do their homework. But now we're giving them really an excellent tool that they can use on their own time, on their own terms, and bring that education with them to make their time with them in person way more fruitful. We didn't have that before.
Thanks, Gil. We have a lot of great chat options, hazmat, infectious disease, a lot of really good options here. Thank y'all. It's great. One of the things that I wanted to talk to y'all about is also, where do we go from here? Like, I think the platform becomes really more robust and useful as we build and develop more trainings for first responders. We envision the platform being a place where first responders go, not to just get training from us, but get training from other individuals, experts around the world that are really experts in their field and what they do, and host trainings in our platform. And Grayson, if you could pull up the slide about what our future looks like, we'll talk about that. Like I had mentioned before, we were looking at biometrics and eye tracking. I think one of the things that we assume is that we're producing stress for individuals and that individuals are responding effectively in that space. One of the things that we think the platform should have is that you could access the trainings anywhere from any place, anytime. And that you can begin to, there'd be enough information, instructional material, avatars, injuries, scenes, environments that you could begin to design and develop your own training. That is because what we find is that what is relevant in one place might not be relevant contextually in another, geographically. That advanced metrics needs to go beyond just the how many times did you make an error and how fast were you. And so we think advanced analytics is something we have to have and push the platform to having. And then having telepresence. The fact that I could train and cross-train, you know, have a police officer, an EMT, or a firefighter, or any individual that collectively needs to group train, be immersed into that VR environment and still remain in their home, is something that's going to be important moving forward, especially in this COVID world that we currently live in. So telepresence is going to be a huge piece to what we're building. You know, John, you'd be able to get into a training with Sheldon and not even need to be in the same space, and interact and perform and kind of learn from each other and with each other in that space. So that's where the platform is headed, and the features that we're starting to begin to develop now. So what the cost of all this, right? Like we've talked about how it works, what's the importance of it, and what's the cost. Now, when we've done the evaluations of what it takes for y'all to do MCI training or any of these large trainings, it's extremely costly. And so we believe that, you know, $100 a year per user, $10,000 a year for up to 100 users. Conversations, if you have more than 100 people or less than 100 people, we can negotiate that price. But you get analytics, you get access to the training anytime, all year long, and you have the platform access for that cost as well. It's repeatable, it's realistic, it's immersive, and you can provide it to a large number of people at a very low cost. I believe it's like 1/15 of the cost of what it would actually take to do MCI training just once. And since y'all are here at the webinar, we're going to be able to send y'all a 10% off code. If you're interested in getting MCI, we'll be able to give y'all a discount on that price for the next 60 days. And also, if MCI is not something you're looking for, we are able to build and customize for your department. And what we think and what we believe is that we have to build these things at a cost-effective way for the platform to have enough of a library to be able to be of value to first responders. But if we don't do that, then nobody's really going to access it. And so one of the things that we believe is that we should be building these things so that you can use them, and that we are building these environments by first responders for first responders. And so that's something we're very passionate about. So if you have some other training that you're looking for, I saw a lot of use of force comments, simulation training. There's a lot of these things that we can do, and we can do it in a very cost-effective way to make it more effective for your agency. So what did y'all think about the platform and MCI training? I think a poll is going to come up that Grace is going to throw up there. Boom, there it is. Please answer that poll. Give us some ideas of what your thoughts are. And you can also throw some of that information down in the chat box about your opinions of what you saw. And really, we grow and get better by your feedback. So please be honest and give us your input on what that looks like. So I know your time's valuable, and I really appreciate you being here and supporting us and getting involved in this effort. Please stick around for any Q&A. There were a lot of questions in there that I was wanting to get to, but I couldn't. It's just hard to manage both of them. So I'd love to answer those questions for y'all. But let's get to hopefully giving one of y'all an Oculus headset. So drum roll.
Yeah, so our intern, design intern Nathaniel is going to announce the winner of the Oculus Quest giveaway. Nathaniel, go for it. Everybody will get the recording of this video through Eventbrite. I will send you an email as soon as we've got the video crunched.
And we can also arrange an in-depth conversation or a more live one-on-one demo of what we have for any future kind of scheduling, if y'all would like.
Absolutely.
We really appreciate y'all coming out and seeing what we've got. And I hope we've impressed y'all of what we've been able to do in the short period of time. And we're really excited and passionate about what we've got going on and where this is going to head. I think VR is the future of training and education. More so than it is more so than it is in entertainment value. And so we look forward to working and collaborating with y'all for the future.
Hey, Scott, if I may say one last thing.
Yeah, bro.
I'm not a customer or a consumer. I've served as your subject matter expert, but if I'm approaching this as your consumer, if you're going to deliver to me the level of professionalism, camaraderie that you guys deliver to me as an SME, and I'm a consumer, I'm going to be remarkably happy. So I think everyone here should know that ATS really cares about the folks they work with, and I really appreciate the partnership. It's been invaluable to my career.
Thank you, Gil. You've, likewise, man, you've helped us considerably. And I'm excited about what we're going to build next.
Absolutely. It's great working with everybody's team with Dr. Salazar and Commander Noble with City of Austin. It's been really great to work with everybody to create this.
Well, thank y'all for your time. I wish y'all a great day and look forward to working with y'all in the future. Email me or contact me. My phone number was up if you have any questions or want to better understand what ATS has and what we have to offer.
Thanks, everybody, and thanks for sticking around for the technical difficulties. Apologize for that.
That's all good.
Thank you guys so much.
Thanks,
Take care. Thanks, Gil. Thank you, Commander Noble.
Thanks a bunch. Take care,
Thank
guys.
you, everyone. Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Virus. Nice to see you, buddy.
Thank you, and thank you. Yeah, thank you for our team.
Thank you.
For joining the meeting. Thank you so much.
Of course, buddy. No worries.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. We'll be sending the video.
Bye, y'all.
Thanks, guys. Bye.